Hey, this is Kevin Kelly, and you are listening to the Stardom Cast.
Hello guys and welcome to the Stardom Cast, your weekly audio source of all things world wondering Stardom. I am your host, Rob Gooden. I am joined for the second time in a week by Matt Turner. Matt, what a pleasure to hear your voice twice in a week.
It's awesome, my friend. It's awesome. And as usual, I'm having a fantastic day. I was watching a little bit of the Crown Jewel show from earlier today, and Io Shirai wrestled in the colors of blue and gold, which you may or may not know are also my color. So that got a thumbs up for me. And not only was that really cool, buddy, what was even cooler was last night on AEW TV, a buddy of mine who I broke in the business with wrestled and defeated Katsuhori Shibata with Mike Tyson on commentary. So, folks, when I tell you to go out and live your dreams, anything is possible, truly, if you bust your ass and don't take no for an answer, you truly can pretty much do anything that you want. But I thought that was really, really cool that my buddy Orange Cassidy beat Shibata with Mike Tyson, Iron Mike Tyson on commentary. To me, that just blew my mind.
It does sound like something you would write in an E-Fed, doesn't it, really? Orange Cassidy defeated Katsuyori Shibata and Mike Tyson on commentary. It's almost one of those things where you look at it and go, well, that didn't happen, did it? But, you know, just to see Shibata back in a ring is incredible. I'll never forget that moment that he came back in the middle of
a final.
It was the G1 final, it was. And he came back and just the entire arena. It's still, to this day, one of the most emotional wrestling moments that I can remember. I recently rewatched, actually, the Sakura Genesis match between him and Kazuchika Okada. And it's one of the greatest wrestling matches I've ever seen. And it's so sad that it'll only, well, to most people, it'll be remembered as the match where Shibata injured himself and it almost killed him. But it's a fantastic match. And also, I did not know you knew Orange Cassidy.
Oh, yeah. Oh, geez. I thought we've had this. I know me and you between text conversations and just talking beforehand, I thought that I went over this with you, but I'll kind of just give a brief history. He grew up in New Jersey, maybe about an hour or so away from where I grew up. Somehow, some way, we got involved in doing backyard wrestling with his buddies and my buddies. And then a buddy of ours built a ring and we started wrestling in warehouses. It was kind of like underground wrestling because none of us were trained. There's probably maybe about 15 or 16 of us. We'd wrestle once a month in this warehouse in Wilkes-Barre, Pennsylvania, which probably a parking lot now. And we would draw, nowhere to lie, about 300 people to these shows, and not one of us was professionally trained. There was a local indie down the road, maybe about 15, 20 minutes. They were drawing maybe 50 people to their show. Well, eventually they caught wind of this. They called the state athletic commission. If anybody knows how horrible and how harsh the state athletic commission is, they pretty much shut us down, right? I think we got away with it for like a year and a half. But yeah, I mean, I did a whole bunch of, the underground and the backyard wrestling shows with them, and rightfully so. So the state should have, looking back on it 20 some odd years later, the state absolutely should have shut us down. The ring wasn't really a real ring. None of us were professionally trained. So yeah, that makes sense. But once, a handful of us did get professionally trained, I remember I was on an indie show with him. He just turned his name into Orange Cassidy because Orange Cassidy wasn't his first name in the independents. And he just turned Orange Cassidy, and I was wrestling in a tag match with him and Chuck Taylor versus me and my one buddy, Mike. And he started explaining to me what he wanted the Orange Cassidy gimmick to be and the character to be. And it's what you see now on TV. And I remember telling him, hey, man, that's awesome. Go for it. But in the back of my head, Rob, I was like, that's dumb. No way is it's gonna no way it's gonna get over. And I'm like, I know how good of a wrestler he is, and you see how good of a wrestler he is, and I'm like, he should just go out there and do everything that everybody else is doing. I'm like, no way is this ever gonna get over. I'm like, yeah, man, all right, hey, good luck. And here it is. He's wrestling Shibata, and he's a world champion. He defeated Pac, and 2 weeks ago I wrestled in front of 60 people. So what do I know? What do I know? So again, folks, that just goes to show you, just go out there and be yourself. Think outside the box, because you never know what'll stick and hit. And he kept at that Orange Cassidy gimmick, 7-8 years before he really started making really big waves. So yeah, I've known Orange got to be over 20 years.
Oh, wow. I mean, I'll be honest, his match with Will Ospreay at Forbidden Door is one of my favorite matches of the year so far. And I when I first saw Orange Cassidy, I don't know how we're on AEW when it's a Stardom podcast. But hey,
sorry, folks. You're getting 2 this week, and if you're on the Patreon, you're going to get another one tomorrow. This drops on Sunday, Rob?
It does, yes.
Yeah, and then tomorrow morning you're getting a watch along of Mayu versus Kari, so bear with us. So go ahead, Rob.
Exactly. Getting 3 for the price of 1, guys. Yeah, his match with Will Ospreay was one of my matches of the year, and I remember someone told me about him when he first came into AEW, because I have very little knowledge of the US Indies or Indies in general, and I was like, that gimmick sounds awful. And it is one of those gimmicks where if you try and explain Orange Cassidy's gimmick to anyone that doesn't understand wrestling, or anyone who does understand wrestling but has never seen him, it's a case of, that sounds ridiculous. And then you watch it and you're like, he's so over with the crowd, and he is such a good wrestler. Like, it's unbelievable how good he is. And I'm so glad that he managed to have a match with Shibata, and I'm so glad that Shibata's in a ring again, like I mentioned before. Hopefully we'll see more matches with him, but just the fact that he's in a ring again makes me very, very happy. However, we're going to start with a hard-hitting question, Matt, and I hope you're ready for this.
Sure.
On our last episode, we've had a couple of comments on the Patreon, and one stuck out to me from Steve Kaklamanos. So, now, question time, he says. Has Rob and or Matt tried the Iron Maiden Trooper beer? I have an empty bottle of it on my shelf because obviously the artwork is always so cool, and the Trooper is my favourite Maiden song. There's also Aces High. But I absolutely hated the beer. I was horrified. I got some for my friend's birthday and had one myself, and he was like, you don't like it, do you? No, I did not. Perhaps someday you guys will come out with a better beer and call it the Stardom Craft. So, my first question to you, Matt, have you ever tried the Iron Man Trooper beer?
First of all, the Trooper is my favorite Iron Maiden song, and yes, absolutely. The last time I saw Iron Maiden play, 2019, I actually got a case for it was me, my dad, and my best friend Jeff. We went to was it Philadelphia to see Iron Maiden. I got a case, and I actually enjoyed the Iron Maiden beer. And now here's something else too, sir, is the Stardom craft beer. That might be a possibility because one of my best friends,
that's amazing.
One of my best friends owns a brewery, so that might be something that we might be able. He literally comes out with a new beer every 6 weeks. That's like his thing. He comes out with a new beer every 6 weeks. So this might be I might be tasked with something new here, folks.
That's outstanding. I mean, I messaged him back saying, oh my God, this is a great idea, just because of the pun of the name, the Stardom Craft. But that's incredible. I've also tried the Trooper beer. One of the pubs not far away from where I live at the moment had it on tap for a long, long time, and it's okay. I am a beer drinker, but it wasn't one that hit home particularly well. I'll have it if there's nothing else on draft. It's not like I've got anything against it, but it's okay. The Trooper, however, not my favourite Iron Maiden song. It is a banging song, and it's obviously iconic, but it's not my favourite, Matt.
Can I guess?
Go for it.
Run to the Hills.
It's not Run to the Hills, though, again, absolute classic in the first song I heard from Maiden.
One more, sir. Fear of the Dark.
Correct.
Oh, that's my favorite live Maiden song because it's like a 15. They go into it's like a 15-minute song, and it's just you just feel like this is just awesome. You feel like you're levitating when they do that live.
Oh, it's incredible. Just that intro, and then when the crowd sing a lot. Oh, What a song and what an atmosphere. So there you go, guys. We've talked about AEW and Iron Maiden and not mentioned Stardom once. So
no, we did. We might be coming out with our own beer now.
Oh.
We might be coming out with our own beer.
Absolutely.
We're gonna have to work on, buddy. I'm working on this. I'm not even joking. I'm definitely pitching this to my buddies Puck and Norm over at shout out to Funk Brewing Company over there in Emmaus, Pennsylvania. Because I'm definitely going to pitch this to them.
Right. So basically, if you want to see the Stardom Craft on shelves, make sure you contact us on Twitter, put it in the comments, talk about how much you want the Stardom Craft to talk. Maybe we'll manifest it by talking about it. But we're here.
If you don't ask, the answer's always no, Rob. If you don't ask, the answer's always no.
Absolutely. So Absolutely.
What are we doing today? What are we covering today? We're watching Stardom.
Honestly,
What's
mate,
going on?
I haven't got a clue. I haven't got a clue what we're doing today, man.
Sorry, folks. We love you. We really do.
It is going to be a busy couple of weeks, to be perfectly honest. Just speaking of, obviously, us talking utter nonsense. But obviously, we're in the midst of Stardom Tag League. As you are listening to this, it'll be the 6th of November, or it will have dropped on the 6th of November. But over the next couple of weeks, obviously, we've got Gold Rush, which is the next pay-per-view installment that's going to be dropping on the 19th of November. And then, obviously, the following day, we have got the historic crossover show on the 20th. So we are going to be doing, all in the midst of having days of the Goddess of Stardom Tag League happening as well. So there are going to be probably a few weeks where you get 2 episodes with us, especially obviously when we get to Stardom in Showcase as well. Hopefully, for your listening sake, we'll be able to get some sort of schedule in place, but we'll let you know a little close to the time. We already know that we're recording the historic crossover show on the 26th, so it'll probably come out on the 27th, Matt. I think that's what we discussed, wasn't it?
Sure, whatever you want to do. I'm game.
Yeah, why not? Sure. But we are here today to talk about the pay-per-view that happened on Thursday, the 3rd of November, the Hiroshima Goddess Festival, Kinsai Stardom from the Hiroshima Sun Plaza in Hiroshima in front of 1,045 people. It's the first time Stardom have run the venue. Whenever they've run the Hiroshima Prefecture before, they've always run the Prefectural Industry Hall. But as a marker for how that attendance fares, New Japan have run the venue twice this year and have hit just over 1,500 people. So a bit shy of that, but again, it's a first time for Stardom and we're over 1,000 people again, so that's got to be a good thing. Talking about the overall card then from top to bottom, Matt, before we delve into each match individually and talk about it, what did you think? What was your overall thought on this show?
I absolutely loved it. And the fact they drew over 1,000 people on a Thursday, which again is kind of, me and you were scratching our heads like, really? Pay-per-view on a Thursday? Okay. But from top to bottom, I thought this was another A show. If you were to ask me, this is probably the middle of the road for Stardom, but probably better than 90% of the other pay-per-views that I watched between New Japan, AEW, and WWE, just because of just how good the content has been from Stardom. But this was a solid A show. I thought every match either over-delivered or delivered right where it needed to. And then, of course, by the time the show is over with, we have our main event and our co-main event for the next show, which is in 2 weeks. So it was like, hey, here was this really, really good show. Oh, by the way, don't breathe, because in 2 weeks, here's the main event, here's the co-main event, and then in a month's time, we're giving you our, WrestleMania level show. So Stardom is just nonstop. It's just like nonstop, no breaks, keep going. It's like, just keep giving us more. And that's what they're doing. But this show to me just added on to just what has been an absolutely A++ phenomenal year from Stardom.
Absolutely. And something that I didn't realize actually when we were talking about a pay-per-view on a Thursday and how strange that was, it's actually a national holiday, which I didn't realize. So that'll be why they ran it on the Thursday.
Rob Goodwin always dropping in those nuggets. What a guy. What a guy, folks.
Let's start with the pre-show then, which is a match that must have changed form about 15 times, because when we first started talking about the show, it was a gauntlet tag. Then it was a three-way tag, and by the time we got to the actual show, the pre-show match was a five-way match, with Azumi defeating Waka Tsukiyama, Lady C, Sayurida, and Mayu Amasaki with a European clutch in 5 minutes and 43 seconds. Apparently, this became a five-way the morning of the show because Momo Kogo was ill, and obviously we wish her a speedy recovery. But this was a really fun little match, if I'm perfectly honest. I love the exchanges between Sayurida and the Great Karsima.
How dare you? I just literally just put you over by being a great guy, and you literally just low-blowed me. How dare you, sir? Yeah, that was really good, the Chop Fest. And again, this just goes to show you how stacked some of these pay-per-views are when you have Azumi, the high-speed champion, and one of your best wrestlers in any company on the pre-show. But it was literally, as soon as the bell rang, it was kind of like, okay, everybody pick 2 or 3 things out they're going to do. We'll throw a little story in, and then we'll take it home. But it was like, don't blink. This was like literally almost like they could have made this like a 5-way high-speed match. But I thought Miyu Amasaki looked really good. Obviously, Azumi's fantastic. Waka was really, really good, especially with her sprint towards the end with Azumi. And I know, I always say in order for you to get title matches, you need to get wins. But I wouldn't be heartbroken if we saw Waka and Azumi for the high-speed championship, because I thought their little segment was really, really good going to the finish. But yeah, the highlight for me was the exchanges between Sayurida and one Lady C, not the Great Ka C or whatever it is that you call it.
I did enjoy the big spin that Lady C brought out that slammed Waka into both Ida and Azumi, though I'm not entirely sure what Azumi thought was going to happen when wandering casually towards the move. But I was thinking about this today because I often spend my day thinking about Stardom. What if Waka Tsukiyama gets her first singles victory at Dream Queendom? I mean,
against who? That's a good that's a really good possibility because we're building up this story. And I think we talked about it last week or even just this past week where it's like, okay, maybe the story's dragging out a little bit too long and you need to get that big win now. But yeah, who do you think the big win would be against? We thought it was going to be against Mai Sakurai, but I mean, I guess they can go back to that, but I think the bloom is off the rose on that one.
Well, they have the chance to heat something up for that December show, obviously, and we're not going to spoil it before we get to the actual match, but Waka is going to be in the tag league, whether it's for the rest of the tag league or just for a couple of matches. That can be used to heat any feud up. And I think Waka, by this point, everyone is so desperate for Waka to get that first victory. I don't think it really matters who it's against because she's going to get it with one of her roll-ups, isn't she? Let's be perfectly honest. She's going to get it with a roll-up. So it could be anyone. I don't think it would matter if it was Lady C, if it was Rina, or if it was Mai Sakurai. I think Mai Sakurai is still the story there because there's no one else really that Waka has the relationship with outside of Cosmic Angels. So
I know who it should be against. It just hit on me.
Go on.
Are you sitting down?
If you say Kyrie, I swear to God.
Natsupoi. Huh? Everybody else is beating up on her.
It will be the cherry on the beating cake that Natsupoi has had this year. But I do think that obviously New York would have been perfect, but as soon as she was put on the pre-show, it just wasn't going to happen. And with it not airing on Stardom World, I think it would have been a bit of an anticlimax for her to get her first victory there. I think you described it yourself as a WrestleMania level production for Stardom. Why not have Waka, in a singles match? Put her against Mai Sakurai. In a singles match, build a little bit on their relationship of how they grew together in Cosmic Angels, and then you don't even have to bury Mai Sakurai. Just have Waka roll her up. No one looks worse there. You can have Mai Sakurai be complacent. She's part of Donna Del Mondo now. Have her literally beating the ever-loving Jimmy out of Waka Tsukiyama, and then have Waka just roll her up. Works perfectly.
I don't even know what that means. The ever living Jimmy. I'm trying to get into the Queen's English, buddy. But like, there's some times I literally, and again, we're off kilter here. We apologize. I use bloody hell in my language all the time ever since I started podcasting with you. I use it all the time now. Now beating the Jimmy. The one time you did say bloke, and I'm like, oh, I know what that means because I heard Sharon Osbourne say bloke. That's the only time I knew what that was. But I don't know what the beating the Jimmy is.
So me and Sharon Osbourne are your only sources of Queen's English. That's concerning. That's concerning.
That's a compliment, buddy. I'm a huge Ozzy Osbourne fan, so.
I gave this 3 stars. It was solid enough. It was a little bit of a throwaway match, but it was fun in what it did.
3 1/4. I bumped it up just a little bit again because it was just nonstop. So and fun for me. Good pre-show match.
The show proper started with a tag team match with Fukuoka Double Crazy defeating the Ueda Tai team of Saki Kashima and Ruaka with the Guma roll in 6 minutes and 49 seconds. This was a fun little tag team match, Matt, with Fukuoka Double Crazy proving why they are one of the best teams in the business. Their seamless transitions and excellent chemistry were in abundance here.
Yeah, absolutely. And I thought it was smart how they put like the heat on Koguma, and then Hazuki comes in. And as I always say on the podcast, Hazuki Mania runs wild. And there's a nice little back and forth with Saki and Ruaka getting a little bit of advantage. But it seems like every time we see FWC, even though they won the tournament last year and they're the former 2-time tag champs, every time we see them out, they get better and better, and they're constantly improving on their double teaming and their timing and where certain things need to go and when to pop into the crowd and when to work the crowd and when to come in and save each other. But yeah, this was really, really fun. I thought this was really solid. Again, only went a little bit over 6 minutes, so it didn't wear out its welcome. So, and I was a big fan of the finish, how Saki and Koguma were going back and forth with their flash falls. Eventually, Koguma gets the Koguma roll, but I had this one 3 1/4 stars. This was really, really solid.
I had it at 3. I thought it was the right choice to have the team that's actually in the tag league to get the victory. Obviously, you want to heat them up as a challenger for one of the blocks. But yeah, solid enough. I thought Ruaka looked good. Again, I think her niche, and we've talked about this before, her niche at the moment is as tag team wrestler, learning from people she's in the ring with. Obviously, she's in the tag league at the moment as BMI 2000 with Natsukatora, and I think that could be a good thing for her. After this match, we had a video package. Now, obviously, it was a pay-per-view feed, so the Japanese wasn't translated, but Karen Peterson has done a translation on her show review on Post Wrestling, so I've taken the translation from there. More dates for the first Triangle Derby tournament were announced in January with the 8th and 9th of January. The 8th is going to be in Nagoya, whilst the 9th is going to be a Tam Nakano special, which I imagine Matt is going to take as some sort of holiday.
Yes, I think I saw. I didn't know what that was. First of all, thanks, Karen, and hello. We hope that you're well. I did see the TAM thing come up, and I was like, "What's this?" And I never got any clarification on what it is. So, I'm so glad that I'm hearing this. Oh, this just made even my day, as great as it was, you just made it better, sir.
Well, Karen goes on to say, Tam will be featured in a special Stardom show in Anjo City in honor of the city's 70th anniversary. It's going to be called, apparently, the Anjo City's 70th anniversary memorial show Triangle Derby 1 in Anjoy, Tams Road. So it's actually going to be named Tams Road, Matt. So
yes, yes, awesome. Who takes my money? Who takes my money?
I can't wait for the review of that. It's going to be held at the Tosho Arena in Anju on the 9th of January. Now, we've also got announcements for the Stardom Awards ceremony, which will be at Belsal Takadanobaba. Sure.
Nailed it.
Yes!
Nailed it, Mayu. Nailed it, Mayu Iwatani.
Every time. Do you know what? I've got a mental block about that name. I know how to say it, but every time I see it, it's just so many letters. Instead of being held at the start of the year, I think last year it was held on the 3rd of January. But obviously with the Triangle Derby taking place, it's going to be pushed back to the 21st of January, which will see a daytime and a nighttime event. The daytime event will have a actual wrestling card, and the evening session will have the awards show and the photo sessions. Again, thank you to Karen for the translation. After that, we had a singles match with Himika defeating Yuna Mizumori with the running powerbomb in 7 minutes and 41 seconds. Now, a big question, Matt. How would you rate Mizumori's singing?
Not as good as Tam and Natsupoi, but I guess it was okay. I mean, I guess it was okay. But I think I texted you right after this match, and I was like, this match really over-delivered. This is the match that I was because I don't know too much about Yuna Mizumori, and I know a lot of people on Twitter were saying how good a wrestler she is, and you figured, well, is Himika going to kind of phone it in, or because it's kind of like an unknown? But these two really, really went at it. This was a super fun match. So, but I'm going to turn it on you. How was her singing?
I feel like the bar of all singing in Japanese wrestling is Tai Chi. And I feel like it wasn't quite Tai Chi levels. And as we know, obviously, Tai Chi sings every single word, every single show. And that, anyone that says any different is a liar. But I just think it fell short of that. I think it was probably on par with Meltear. But no. I'll be perfectly honest. I enjoyed this match. It did make me laugh when Himika was just not impressed to start off with the dancing pineapple that stood before her. But it's certainly the best I've seen Mizumori look during my admittedly limited exposure of her. She hit a running Alabama slam into the corner, which was something I don't think I've seen before. And she hit this twisting splash after propelling herself off the corner pad as well, which looked really cool. Also, anyone that's able to pick up Himika with the relative ease that Mizumori picked her up with deserves a lot of props. I thought she did really, really well here. They both threw some really tasty-looking lariats as well. But yeah, it surpassed all of my expectations. And that's nothing against Mizumori, but I've seen her in a New Blood context where it's been very comedy-centric. I believe she had a match with Lady C, I think, on New Blood 2. So it was comedy there. We obviously had Tropical Passion Mask in the tag with Nene Takahashi, and they're all my two real exposures to her. And I thought here she was head and shoulders above either of the other performances, Matt.
Yeah, I guess it makes sense. You're going up against, a former tag champ and someone that's had some few title shots this year on pay-per-view. So you figured she was going to bring her best game. And yeah, very much like you, my exposure to Yuna is very, very limited. And she completely blew my expectations away. And Himika was, as always, fantastic here. Yeah, I was a big fan of all the clotheslines, just the hard-hitting, no-nonsense match that this was. And I was a big fan of how they got to the finish. So, again, this was really, really good. It exceeded my expectations. I hope we see more of Yuna in some matches in Stardom and some more of the serious matches. I would love to see, her and Momo go at it, her and Mina go at it in like a, really big strike fest. But yeah, thoroughly enjoyed this one. I had this at 3.5 stars.
And I think as well, Himika's having a really understatedly good year as well. Like, obviously, a lot of the praise has gone to Saya Kamatani for how good her year has been, and rightly so. But I think I've said this before, Himika has had a really, really good year. Whenever she's been put into the main event or whenever she's had the spotlight, she hasn't disappointed. She's had really, really, really good matches, and she's really motivated. She's hitting really hard. That explosive pace she's got is terrifying when she's hitting some of those lariats, and it's something that Micah does as well. But yeah, I thought it was a good match. It's probably one I wouldn't go out of my way to see on this card, but it was still a good match, and like I said before, surpassed my expectations. I gave it 3.25 stars. We move on then to a singles match billed as the revenge match, with Utami Hayashishita defeating Natsuki Tora with the hijack bomb in 12 minutes and 50 seconds. This was preceded by an excellent video package recapping the history between the two. To my mind, one of the better video packages Stardom's produced. Obviously, on the 4th of July last year, Natsuki Tora had a really bad injury during her match with Utami Hayashishita in the main event for the World of Stardom Championship. Tora basically said that you need to keep that belt ready for me because I'm going to come for it when I'm ready. Utami promised her that she would. I'll protect this belt. Then, of course, she lost it to Syuri. Tora came back, and obviously, not only was Utami not red belt champion, but she'd also, she'd seen her become a little bit of a comedy wrestler. You've got the Utami and things like that. And again, thanks to Karen Peterson for this little translation of Tora in the press conference where she said, the Utami I want to fight is the one from back then. She was the strongest in the world. Now she's only a shadow of what she was and messing around. It's a damn shame. And I thought that video package, Matt, just before this match, added a lovely layer of spice going into it.
Yeah, it absolutely added to it. And I knew about the Utami versus Tora stuff. And one of the main reasons why I knew about it is because I read a book called Living the Dream, Stardom's 10th Anniversary in Review by Rob Goodwin. And you actually go into, as the whole book, you go into great detail about that match. And I've said on this podcast and just in general, I don't like watching matches that I know someone's getting hurt in. Obviously, if you're watching live, you don't know, but I don't like, if you hear somebody got hurt in the match, I just don't like watching it. And the only reason why I watched the Utami Tora match a few months ago, or where Tora gets hurt, is because I had to do it for the Patreon for Utami's red belt reign. And you did mention in your book that the match was really on pace to be like a really, really another fantastic Utami title defense. And it just obviously got cut short because of the injury. So I knew that going in, and then the video package as well just added so much to it, which to me made this match so much better. I thought this match was absolutely tremendous. I liked how in the beginning Utami was going to try to out wrestle Tora, like they did a really, really nice tight lockup, and Utami's just trying to wear her down with holds, and eventually Tora just has enough of her crap, and she just blitzes her with violence to kind of get like the first real advantage of the match.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know if I've just forgotten what Tora's theme was during a long layoff, or if it's a new theme, but damn, that song slaps, Matt. What a really cool entrance theme.
Yeah, it was. And it really goes with it. You just see when she comes down the ring, she's just no nonsense, like all badass. Where it's like, again, I really saw next to nothing of Tora when I first started watching Stardom about a year and a half ago. So like to me, like the leaders of Oedo Tai were always like Starlight Kid and Momo Watanabe. But like Tora comes in the ring and you see like Momo's always laughing and Starlight Kid's always playing these little pranks or this or that. And you can see where Tora just has this completely different aura about her and why she's the leader of Oedo Tai, because she's just completely no nonsense. Yeah, and that theme again, I don't know if it's new or not, but yeah, that theme just really works so well with her.
Yeah, absolutely. And there was loads of nice little callbacks to their Yokohama match in this one. We had Tora coming out with the Black Rose to counteract, obviously, Utami's Rose, which I thought was a nice little touch. There was a callback to the frog splash through the table that happened in Yokohama, but this time Tora can't quite do it, and Utami hits her with a brutal-looking air raid crash on the apron. And then Utami puts the rose in her mouth, just like Tora did back in Yokohama, and splashes Tora through a table. When was the last time we saw Utami come off the top rope for a splash? Never mind through a bloody table. Obviously, we then get some brilliant suplexes before Utami hits the hijack bomb for the victory. A really, really, really good match. And obviously, in retrospect, it was needed that Utami be heated up ahead of what happens at the end of the show. I still think the wrong person won.
I see your point of view, and me and you were pretty much dead set Tora was winning. Like locked in, Tora's winning, which is the kiss of death on this podcast for me and you to not only agree, but like, yeah, we would put money on this. Tora needs to win. Here's the reason why. But I thought the psychology in the match was really good. Like anytime Utami would try to build up a little bit of offense in the beginning, Tora would just blitz her and just hit her with bombs, like DVDs after DVD after DVD, which made sense for Utami to kind of pull out the two big bags of tricks at the end with the air raid crash on the apron and then the splash through the table, which we've never seen her do that before. But it makes sense. But yeah, she won. I was kind of like, oh. Well, maybe they're going to go with, because we thought they would do the blow off of the feud at Dream Queendom. Because like, well, what else does Utami have to do, going into next year? So we thought that's where they were going. But then I was kind of thinking, well, maybe they need to keep Utami strong because maybe they're going to do Momo versus Utami at Dream Queendom, which to me, that's the Queen's Quest Oedo Tai match that is a year in the making. And I still think they're going to do it, but obviously the reason why she won is, what happens after the main event, which we'll talk about. So anytime, a huge fan of Utami. I'm not heartbroken at all that I got this one wrong. I thought this match was absolutely fantastic, and Tora I think this is like her third or fourth match back, and she looked great. Obviously, it's her first singles match since that match with Utami. So she, you kind of go into it like, what's going to happen to my knee? Am I going to be okay? I thought Utami was there for everything. I thought she made her look really, really good. And then Utami with that blitz at the end. I love this match for the third match on the show, Rob. I gave this one 4 stars. I thought this was a good way to kind of start getting into the second half of the show.
Yeah, and I think that little jibe about, she's a shadow of herself really sort of pushed Utami to wrestle a stronger style in this match, and I thought it brought out the very best of Utami. I would have loved to have seen this go a little bit longer, but I did really enjoy this match. I gave it 3 3/4 stars. I was a little bit worried about how Tora would fare in a singles match like this, a revenge match as it was billed. So soon after coming back from a really bad knee injury. She was out for, 16 months or something with a knee injury. But I thought she did really, really well here, and she was the perfect foil for Utami. We move on then to match 4, which was a 6-woman tag team match with the Donna Del Mondo team of Julia Tekla and Mai Sakurai, and the God's Eye team of Konami, Amisuri, and Mirai going to a 15-minute time limit draw. And out of this, I've got 2 things. I cannot wait to see Julia and Konami Part 2 Electric Boogaloo, and I also would love to see a singles match between Tekla and Konami, because I thought the little exchange that they had was absolutely fantastic, man.
Are you reading my notes, sir? Literally, like, my third note is Konami versus Tekla, please. And then at the very end, I put, this may set up another challenger for once Julia wins that red belt. Julia could have, she's in the 4th match here on pay-per-view, right? She could have just kind of did a few things here or there, gave majority of the match to Tekla and Mai Sakurai, which she did. I thought was really cool that Julia is currently in a tag team with Tekla. As we know, they're Mafia Bella in the tag league. But when Tekla got hurt, Julia and Mai Sakurai really, really gelled well as Oh My Julia. So there was like some spots where Tekla got her stuff in, Mai Sakurai got her stuff in, and then Julia did her tag team stuff with both Tekla and Mai Sakurai to kind of put the shine on them. But then, like, her and Konami at the end are just going at it. And again, I didn't think Julia was going to do too much. Just, again, it's the 4th match on the show. Let's highlight everybody else. You don't need to put the highlight on her. And then her and Konami are like, German suplexing. She eats a German suplex off the top rope on the returning from Konami. I was like, what was that all about? And I thought she looked great. She looked like she's in phenomenal shape. She was in the Oedo Tai gear. I thought her hair was really, the way she had her hair with a little bit of purple in it. I thought that was a touch upon everything. I thought that was really, really cool. I thought Amisori and Mirai, they looked really, really good as well. Yeah, literally the last note I have on here is when Julia wins that red belt, which we all think she's going to at the end of the year. She literally has set up all the matches that she lost or didn't win at the 5-star. So we have Julia versus Mirai, Julia versus Mayu, Julia versus Suzuki, Julia versus Suzuki, Julia versus Momo Watanabe. And then you can also always run back, do something with her and Natsupoi, her and Starlight Kid. And now we can have a potential Julia versus Konami match. So literally, you have like her first 7 or 8 challengers for that red belt pretty much set up. And then in the meantime, you can build somebody else up. So I think this Julia run, if everybody stays healthy, fingers crossed, is going to be fantastic. But to go on this match, I thought this was great. This was another match that completely over delivered. I had no problem with the time limit draw. I figured they would have beaten Mai Sakurai, but there's somebody else that they're kind of building up from the bottom and doing a great job with her. But yeah, I had this at 3 3/4 stars. Loved it.
Yeah, it was a really enjoyable 6-woman tag, and same with you. The time limit draw didn't particularly bother me. I would have loved to Konami to have gotten the victory in her hometown, but that's a very small nitpick. I thought the added effect of Julia hitting the Glorious Driver after the bell as well, just to add that extra bit of sort of, I could have beaten you, I just didn't. and then chasing her all the way to the back. It seems like they are setting up something. So I'm quietly hopeful that Konami is on the road to return. Obviously, I don't want her to rush into anything, but she was in tremendous ring shape. Like, there was no ring rust there at all. And I know she started slowly and sort of worked into it. I know she's had a couple of matches along Golden Week where she wrestled, but I thought she looked really, really, really good here. She came out with the God's Eye hoodie, and she had a proper God's Eye Tron as well entrance video. So it looks like she is, God's Eye. I don't know where that sits with a weather tie, but I'm sure we'll find out. I was exactly the same. 3 3/4 stars. A really, really fun match.
Yeah, because that's what this stacked Stardom roster needs, is another phenomenal performer like Konami.
Absolutely, absolutely. What they definitely don't have is depth. Match 5
Liar.
then. An SWA Women's World Undisputed Championship match with the champion Mayu Iwatani defeating Alpha Female to get her third successive title defense with a moonsault in 11 minutes and 7 seconds. And I'm going to go straight out and say it. This was head and shoulders above the Kairi Hojo match.
I'm going to do you one better, sir. And if I'm wrong, please let me know. This was the best Alpha Female / Jazzy Gabbert match that I think ever exists.
I can't think of one that instantly jumps out, so I think it'd be hard pushed.
Boom. Yeah, I thought the psychology was really good. And again, we talk all the time about Mayu being like one of the best sellers ever. So I think she did a great job getting Alpha Female over as the giant monster. Not that Alpha Female needed really much help. So it was, again, a kind of a really simple story here. But, Rob, we got to talk about it. That lariat. That Stan Hansen-esque lariat and Mayu taking the bump. Like, just unbelievable. And the finish. How about like Mayu hits the moonsault, Alpha Female kicks out, which we haven't seen too many people. I mean, it's happened. We don't see too many people kick out of the moonsault. So then Mayu wants to please every fan, so she goes to the opposite corner, and then the adjacent corner, and then the adjacent corner. So no matter where you were sitting on the in the arena, if you're like, you know what, I paid my money to see Mayu's moonsault. Well, you got 4 and you got 1 in each quarter. So what a person of the people. She's the people's champion, not The Rock. I think Mayu Iwatani's the people's champion.
Oh, she definitely stored her finishes, didn't she? Jesus. But I think Mayu Iwatani was the perfect person for Alpha Female to face, because Mayu sells, her way of selling just makes Jazzy Gabbert look phenomenal. Everything she hits, no matter whether it's low impact or high impact, Mayu Iwatani sells it like she's been hit by a boat. So it just makes her look phenomenal. That lariat that you're talking about, where Mayu must take that right on top of her head. It looked like a sickening bump. But those first couple of moments where Mayu is quite literally just bouncing off Jazzy Gabbert, it was brilliant. Again, we said last week we weren't expecting a 5-star classic, but I think this was a far better fit in terms of a match than the Kairi match.
Yeah, story. Again, the thing I liked about the Kairi match was that whole Kairi, where's your passion? And it switched it to a different level, where this was just overall a better match. And we were talking if Mayu, like, who gets the win here? Because Mayu needs to stay strong going into that match with Kairi in 2 weeks. But you defeat Alpha Female 2 in a row. And she did. And I don't think she really lost much. She really didn't lose much into the Kairi match. And she didn't lose much here. Again, if you're grading this on scorecards, outside of really the 4 moonsaults that it took Alpha Female to put away, which is, I mean, that's just such a credit. It's like Mayu's like, I got to hit my finisher 4 times in a row to put this challenger away. Other than that, this match was pretty well dominated by Alpha Female. And of course, if you're going to be on the back end of selling, who better to put you over than one Mayu Iwatani? Yeah,
exactly. Obviously, 4 moonsaults puts Jazzy Gabbert away, and Mayu then vacates the belt. And it's very like, oh, okay. But she said that in order to best focus my energy and effort on the IWGP Women's Championship, allow me to vacate the SWA World Championship. I know it may be selfish, but please understand and support my decision. So we are in November, Matt, and that's the second time the SWA belt has been vacated. It's the third in the last 5 champions. I mean, I do understand where Mayu's coming from, and my whole thing about Kairi is pretty much now out the window because it seems that Mayu is 100% winning at Historic Crossover.
Oh, well, look who's in the camp, folks. The biggest Mayu fan. We want to let him back on the boat. This might be a poll. I might put this poll up on Twitter, Should we let Rob back on the Mayu train?
It was 2 of the same belt. I wouldn't be surprised. There's either going to be another tournament to crown a new champion. It wouldn't surprise me if they get rid of the SWA belt entirely, because to my mind, the IWGP Women's Championship does the job of the SWA belt without the rule set. So why have both? I mean, especially we've just gone through 18 months of it where we struggled to find competitors to challenge for it because Japan weren't allowing anyone in. We are doing that now. We are able to do that, but what do you think? Do you think we crown a new champion, or do you think we quietly retire it?
Either or, but here was my thought as soon as it was over. I thought, okay, let's, I think if you're to crown a new champion, you do it at Dream Queendom. That's your big show of the year. And then you put this person, you have them fly all over the place. You're like, they're going to be in and out of Stardom, mostly out. Who do we put this on? And that we can contact Tony Khan for AEW. We can contact Billy Corgan from NWA. We can contact Scott D'Amore from Impact saying, this person's available. We're sending them over to the States for 6 months to defend the belt. They can't lose it. And you need to give us a little bit of a plug on your show. To me, again, I'm kind of dream booking after this match, Rob. I'm dream booking Dream Queendom in my head. So obviously we have Sherry and Julia up top. Obviously, I didn't know what was going to happen at the end of the co-main event, main event, but I had Kairi versus Saya Kamatani as the co-main event. I think that's your biggest match for the white belt. I'm having Momo versus Utami for just a match. So that takes out the, Starlight Kid in a tag match or a 6-person. So I'm thinking at this point, once Mayu hands over the belt, I'm thinking the finals is Starlight Kid versus Mina Shirakawa. You have Mina go over because she's white hot and she speaks English and has a very charismatic American style of wrestling and entrance as well. And she's been very adamant, especially after that New York show from last week, that she wants to come back to wrestle in the United States. So I think you would just pack her up for 4 or 5, 6 months, whatever, bring her back when you need to, and just have her go all over American TV and the bigger American indies, Game Changer Wrestling, et cetera, et cetera. And you can go that way. Or if they do decide to retire it, absolutely, I understand that as well. But to my thing, it was like, you need to put this belt on Mina. You need her to have her beat somebody that's an established star, like a Starlight Kid, in the finals, and then ship her off all over the place. However, again, we're going to talk about it here in a little bit, what happened in that co-main event. You might be able to switch gears there. But that was my immediate thought right there, is you put the belt on Mina, crown her at the big show, and basically send her almost like on an excursion to, one, get that belt over, get her over, and get Stardom over here in the United States and other parts of the world as well.
If it was, I do feel like, well, I say the belt is below Kairi, Mayu's held it. It's almost like what they could do with Kairi, isn't it? But I don't anticipate them putting the belt on Kairi. In terms of the match, I gave it 3.5 stars. What about you?
3 3/4, sir. So a little bit above you.
Right. Well, let's move on to our trio of title matches that close the show. First up, match 6, the Goddess of Stardom Championships match. Meltear, the champions, defeating Black Desire, with Natsupoi getting the pin over Starlight Kid with the Fairy Strain in 15 minutes and 22 seconds. This was brilliant, Matt.
This was excellent, but did you hear the rumored text that Rossi Ogawa got in the middle of this match from the owners of Bushi Road?
No. What?
Now, it's just a rumor. So, as you know, Tam and Natsupoi come out, best entrance in wrestling, maybe ever. Eat your heart out, Undertaker at WrestleMania. And then the music gets cut off and they get jumped. So supposedly, again, it's just a rumor. Horacio Gawa got a text message from the owners of Boosie Road saying, "What are you doing? Shut this show down. We're selling Stardom." So I don't know. I don't know. Take that with a grain of salt. That obviously didn't happen. I totally did the pop Rob. Obviously, that didn't happen for my obvious love for for Tam Nakano
It's
and
not
Natsupoi.
that good a song.
Yes,
It's not that good.
Yeah, it's the entrance thing. They come out with like the
Oh my
half wedding
God.
dresses and the crowns, and they're holding hands, and they do like the turn as if they're like on like a turntable, and they have the crowns, and they come in and they're pointing at each other, and they're all smiles, and then the music gets shut off, and then Momo and Starlight Kid just beat the bejesus out of these two.
I loved it. Honestly, it's the most face Oedetai I've ever been. It's the best thing Ruaka has done in her tenure in the company. Not winning the future belt, pardon me, it's shutting off that din. Honestly, their entrance is like someone filming a real life version of Frozen. That is all that is. Anyway,
they need to come out with a snowman.
Genuinely, that's what it looks like.
If they're the tag champs, which I'm assuming they're gonna, again, I'm dream booking Dream Queen, if it's the two of them versus defending the belts against Mike and Himika if they win the tournament. But if they come out with like a snowman and like a sled, I'm gonna lose my mind. Yeah, this match. Anyway, this match was really, really good. It was nice how they got the heat really early on, the tag champs, obviously, for cutting off the song and almost kind of like, shocking them. I don't know if you noticed, and there's GIFs all over the place online, but when they shut off the song and they turned to like the table, like where the announcer was, poor Waka looked terrified. She was like, you gotta see the look on her face. She just looked like someone was gonna stab her. She looked so scared. It's like, what is going on? God bless her. No, another reason why I love Waka. She even sold that, like that 2 seconds she was in that frame. She sold it so well. She looked like she was like getting ready to get stabbed by Michael Myers. So it was something. Go on. I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, after you. Go on.
But no, I really enjoyed the match. It was really great tag team work back and forth. I really liked how they split up, like Tam versus Momo. And that's a singles match we haven't seen in a while. And then obviously Starlight Kid and Natsupoi, they know each other. So you went from like the high speed. Once things got settled back down and the psychology ebbed and flowed, you kind of had like the high speed mini match with Natsupoi and Starlight Kid. And then the hard hitting suplex fest between Momo and Tam. So I thought that was really good. The double teams from both teams were really good. How about when I love it when Tam and Natsupoi, they do that spot where they're both on the top rope and Tam hits the knee and the opponent takes the bump and then Natsupoi hits the Pharaoh gift.
Yeah.
I really enjoy how they do that. But how about how that move got broken up where I think it was Tora?
Oh my God, it was Ruaka.
and I don't like that crate. But this was the best. She just fastballed this thing at Natsupoi's head. And again, I don't like it when the ref sees when there's cheating happen. Well, the ref was in the perfect spot because he was all the way down looking at the shoulders, so he couldn't see it. And you just see poor Natsupoi. Now it's Ruaka's joining the group of let's beat up Natsupoi by flinging this crate that I absolutely hate right at her head. Like poor Natsupoi. Like
it was the noise it made. It sounded so lunchboxy. It was unreal, like proper hollow Tupperware. It was amazing. It was proper lobbed it. It came from off screen as well, so you couldn't see Ruaka throw it. And he's just heard it dunk off Natsupoi's head. And that's all she needs. After the year she's had, that's all she needs, having someone hoiking this Tupperware at her head. But she was the star of this match. The focus was almost always on her. She was getting beaten down, just building that resilience. And then she's the one that gets the victory. They're building her to be this main player, and I think it's a really, really, really good story they're telling. I love Black Desire's double Shining Wizard, and I love it even better when they both miss it. And they just clash knees in the middle. Loved that. But these two teams have great chemistry. Really, really, really good chemistry, especially when they break down into those, sort of singles matches that you talked about with Momo and Tam and Natsupoi and Starlight Kid, because they complement each other so well. I think the fact that Oedetai didn't get involved ridiculous amount helped this match as well. I gave it 4.25 stars. Really, really good. Meltear are fast becoming one of the most solid tag teams in Japan, and that's saying a
Yeah.
lot.
Yeah, I agree. I had it 4.25 star as well. I would have rated higher. I'll get to it in a second why I didn't go to 4.5. But I liked how Wado Tai they would use the chair from time to time, and ultimately it was the death nail as they got hit. Starlight Kid got hit with a super kick into the chair, the double sliced bread, and then the Ferial Gift for the win. I don't like the finish. Obviously, out of these four ladies, I love all four of them. I'm big fans of all four of them. But as far as wrestling wise goes, Momo's my favorite. And I don't like how they get rid of Momo in the match. Like they did the two super kick spots, which I thought were really cool to get Starlight Kid and Momo outside of the ring. Because I hate it when they're like, well, we need to do a dive. What are we doing? I'll just have somebody do something stupid. It made sense. The psychology made sense. The double super kick is one of their big spots. But they hit the dive, the hand-holding dive, which I absolutely love. And that's something that I need to talk to Andy Header about. We might steal that. I don't know. Probably not, because last time I dived, I tore my foot up pretty bad. Anywho, so they hit Momo with that dive, and then they go back in the ring, and they hit Starlight Kid with all these double team moves, and then the Ferial Gift. And, like, Momo was, like, out for, like, 60, 70 seconds just on the dive. And Momo was supposed to be, like, this big badass, this hard-hitting person. And it was like she was kind of just lost for the last 70 or 80 seconds where she made no comeback at all or didn't try to come in the ring. Like even if she tried to maybe come up on the ropes and like Tam hit her with a super kick or like that jumping knee she did, and then Momo would like almost take the bump onto everybody on a Wado Tai to take everybody out. And then the finish happened. I thought that would have made a little bit more sense and probably would have bumped it up to 4.5 stars. But that's just my little nitpick because I'm just a huge fan of Momo. And I thought that kind of made her look just a little bit too weak there. But again, 4.25 stars. Absolutely fantastic match.
Let's move on then to the semi-main event, match 7, the Wonder of Stardom Championship match. Saya Kamitani defeated Mina Shirakawa with the Phoenix Splash in 20 minutes and 35 seconds. Let's get this out of the way. I am so frustrated that this match is going to be remembered for the finish, because up until the finish, this was fantastic. The fact that Mina Shirakawa is progressing at the rate she is. I mean, look at this time last year, Tokyo Super Wars. She had a match with Tam, and it was, let's call it divisive. She knocked herself a bit funny off a, I think it was a Tam powerbomb. Yeah. Mm-hmm. And then she couldn't get Tam up for the Glorious Driver Mina. It wasn't a terrible match, but it certainly wasn't her best. She comes here a year later, and it's like night and day. She has done wonders, pardon the pun, in the 5-star Grand Prix. They've built her figure 4 leg lock to the point of it being a legitimate killer. It reminds me a little bit of what they did with Saya Kamitani heading into Budokan, where she kept winning matches with different variations of clutches. And then we got that fantastic near fall against Utami. It was exactly like that, and we got a moment like that in this match. But what I loved even more was with Mina, she came out brand new gear, and immediately she feels like a main eventer. But she's been very knee-centric lately. She's focused on the knee, and it's always started with a drop kick to the knee. And that's how the last couple of matches, especially the multi-woman tags, have started. Here, she adapted all of that offense into something we haven't seen before. She amended it so it felt new and fresh and not just a rehash of everything she'd done before. Okay, she's thinking, she's building storyline. We had callbacks to their 5-star match with that absolutely brutal implant DDT from the top rope. We had some fantastic submission holds. We had Saya Kamitani coming off the top rope and Mina hitting this drop kick to her knee in midair. It just looked beautiful. Mina looked like an absolute star through this match. And honestly, at the start of this, I felt like Mina was doing well, but would never quite get there. She'd never quite get to the white belt. After this match and everything that transpired, you have the opportunity to capitalize on this when Mina returns and just fire her to the moon. because she felt like an absolute superstar after this match, even including the injury. And we'll go into it now. Saya goes for a Phoenix Splash, hits one. She does sell the knee, so goes for a second one and under-rotates massively and lands on Mina's face, which I think knocks some of her teeth out. I think. It's bruised her jaw and part of her oral cavity, which means that she's out for a length of time. She looked a mess, but and she's mouthful of blood, and you can tell that Saya Kamatani is shaken by the end of the match. You can tell that she knows she's done something wrong. We cut to the back, and the promo that Mina Shirakawa cuts, face covered in blood, crying as she says, "Why are the things I want so difficult to get?" Oh my God, it was the best thing she could have done because, and I know it's not the same thing, but when Becky Lynch was going against Ronda Rousey.
Yes. Oh my God, yes. Go ahead, Rob. You literally are perfect. We're in sync as always. Go ahead, sir. Yes.
At Survivor Series, we were supposed to get Becky versus Ronda, and we didn't because she ended up getting a broken nose from an errant punch from Nia Jax. And there's that shot, isn't there, of Becky Lynch on the stairs of the crowd, face caked in blood, and it was the spark that ignited the man character. And you could do something so similar here with Mina Shirakawa because her level of storytelling and her investment and her emotion and passion, you have the ability and you have the potential here to build a rock solid main eventer out of Mina Shirakawa. And if you'd have told me that I'd have been saying that 18 months ago, I'd have laughed in your face. Because maybe not as hard as I was on Unagi, but I was really hard on Mina Shirakawa, especially when she debuted. I thought she was very, very little to be impressed by. But the progress she's made, especially in the last, 8 months, has been unbelievable. And if you haven't, I actively encourage you to read the column that Scotty Wrestling has put onto the Voice of Wrestling website, The Dream to Inspire Hope Through Wonder. It's all about Mina Shirakawa. It is an absolutely incredible read. And I've gone through all of this without mentioning Saya Kamatani. I thought Saya Kamatani's selling was instrumental to how well this match translated, Matt.
Yeah, as I was watching this match, and I watched it live, I'm going through, and as this match is building and building and building, there's a lot of almost like fingerprints of like, did Bret Hart put this match together from both aspects? Just the way Mina was building up the figure four. You talked about how like she went for the low drop kick early on, and Saya jumped out of the way. She hit a hurricanrana. She hit a couple things kind of back and forth, and then she made Mina work to get to the leg. And then anytime Mina would start going to the leg, Saya would have some sort of counter for it. So like the way Mina was building and going back to like, I can't get it now, let me go to something else. And then if there's an opening, I'll go to it, was very like Bret Hart-esque. And on the other side, Saya Kamatani, the way she's selling lately, and especially in this match, is very much like underdog Bret Hart, like 92 to like 96. Which again, that's a huge compliment. That biggest compliment I can give is like the fact that like it felt like Bret Hart put this match together on both sides. And yeah, you talked about how Saya she got a little bit of momentum in this match, and then she goes for her springboard high cross body, and Mina just drop kicks her knee right out of midair. I thought that was great. Mina even did the spot where she does the springboard back heel kick that we've seen low key do, in Ring of Honor and TNA and whatnot. So that was completely new. Mina, she was trying to go to the figure four. She couldn't get to it, so she went to the ankle lock. I'm like, that's new. That's awesome. And we talked about last week that, or on the last show, that Saya Kamatani is taking judo and jiu-jitsu lessons to counter the figure four. And we saw that she did that with the reverse triangle. And I even jokingly said, well, if she wants to counter it, just watch any Ric Flair matches from the NWA, and you could see how to counter it. And there was a lot of inside cradles or pushing off the back that what happened to Ric Flair. I was like, oh, she used both. All right, great. But as this match was getting towards the end, and just knowing how Saya builds her finishes, especially in these big matches like we've seen her have with Micah, Himika, Starlight Kid, Mariah, Tam, etc., etc., I was like, if they hit this finishing sequence, like I know Saya can, this is going to finish in my top 3 or 4 matches of the year, period. This is going to join Tam and Julia. This is going to join Okada and Ospreay from the G1 final, the FTR Briscoe matches, et cetera, et cetera. The way this was going, I absolutely love this match. And then, of course, the finish happened. And usually once I'm done writing my notes, I write down my star rating. And 99% of the time, I don't change it. It doesn't matter who I talk to, what I read. If I go back in the match, I usually try to let my first reaction be that reaction. As soon as I wrote down 4.75 stars, I felt terrible about it because of how great they were. And then I grabbed my phone and I texted you, and I knew that you weren't watching it. And I said, once you watch this match, you need to text me back because we need to talk about it. And then we never did up until now. So I'm excited to hear what you think about this match, but I'm spot on with you. This match was absolutely fantastic. Again, I understand the finish. I thought when Saya missed the first Phoenix splash, she goes to the top rope and she starts punching on her knee. And there's an old school thing that a lot of old school veterans would tell me: if you mess up a spot, you don't go back to it. Times have changed over the last, 5, 10, 15 years. So she goes back to the spot. It's a big match. It's one of the coolest looking moves in all of Stardom. But Saya Kamatani, who's been wrestling, 3.5 years, Rob, does a veteran thing where she misses the move, goes back to it, but as she's climbing the rope, she starts slapping on her knee that Mina worked on. So I'm sitting there thinking, even though she messed that up, in my opinion, if she hits this Phoenix splash on the second attempt, it's going to add to it because it's putting over Mina's figure 4. The reason why she missed it is because of the work on the knee. Obviously, she comes down, almost double stomps poor Mina's face. She goes for the cover. Mina kicks out like at 2.99. I don't know if Saya told her to or she didn't know where she was. The referee smartly sees how bad Mina is, calls for the bell, and the crowd just goes silent because they don't know what to react. And I felt terrible that I couldn't give this match 5 stars because this match was an absolute masterpiece. I watched this match twice back since then, and you know how busy a person I am. So for me to go back and watch a match 3 times in a 24-hour period, just goes to show you how much I love this. And Rob, you're absolutely right. This match is unfortunately going to be remembered for the finish, and I understand why. However, if you're somebody that's just breaking into pro wrestling, or want to break into pro wrestling, or want to learn more about the ebbs and flows of psychology and selling, you need to go and watch this match, because this match, up until the unfortunate finish and accidents happen, was an absolute masterpiece from these 2 wrestlers. I absolutely love this match. Again, the ebbs and flows of just the building up of the figure 4. And then when Saya couldn't get it, she would go to something else. Mina couldn't get it, she would go to something else. And Saya's selling. When she finally locked in the figure 4, you see Saya's faces in panic and pain all at the same time, almost sprinkling up a little bit of, Ricky Morton, Ricky Steamboat, and Mayu into Saya's facial expressions. And she was right where when she was fighting for the rope, Rob, she was right by where all the cameras were. And it was the perfect timing, the perfect selling, the perfect facial. And even Mina moved her body out of the way to almost block it. I thought that was such a good falsie. And then she gets to the point where Mina's trying to put her away, and she can't put her away with the figure 4. What put her away last time? The glorious Mina driver. She goes for it. Saya gets out. She hits the Hurricanrana. She hits and then she hits the Star Crusher. Now, about a week or 2 ago, she beat Waka with the Star Crusher. She hits the Star Crusher. What does Mina do? She kicks out at 1. This was your tag partner back in New York. You kicked out of this move at 1. Mina tries to power up, and then Saya has to fire up because she's on 1 leg. She hits the spin kick. She hits a brutal pump kick, hits the Star Crusher again, and I'm like, this finish is just going to be great. And then the finish happens. But again, this match was absolutely fantastic. I absolutely love this match. Whether you can say whatever you want about the finish, I understand the finish is the finish. I get it in a big match like that. I understand why some people are souring on it. But don't let that take away what is an absolutely phenomenal performance. In my opinion, is the most improved wrestler of the year in all of wrestling, Mina Shirakawa, versus what is my wrestler of the year in Saya Kamatani. With all due respect and apologies to the Will Ospreay fans, to the Shuri fans, to the Seth Rollins fans, to the Roman Reigns fans, etc., etc. To me, Saya Kamatani is the wrestler of the year, and I know she feels terrible about the ending of this match, but this match in general is a reason why she is the best wrestler in the year 2022.
It's hard to disagree with anything you've just said, to be perfectly honest, Matt. I gave it 4.25. It was. I wanted to give it 4.5. I really, really did. And then the finish happened, like you say, and I wish it didn't happen, if I'm perfectly honest. But that's just, unfortunately, that's the lay of the land. I think he could have told a story if she'd have done the first one, which wasn't pretty, but you could have said, well, that was the damage that Mina did to the knee. That's a story you could have told. I think the second one was unnecessary, and obviously, unfortunately, it's the second one that's caused the damage. Now, I know you wanted to say something in regard to the reaction on social media towards Saya, Matt.
Yeah, and if I'm going to kind of just say a few things, and if there's something you want to add, or you want to cut me out, by all means, Rob, please do. I try to keep away. One of the reasons why I try to keep so positive is I try to keep away of anything negative. It was about a few hours after this match happened. I had some people message me on social media and basically tell me, Saya Kamatani's kind of taking a beating on Twitter, a lot of cyberbullying. And I even had somebody tell me that it was very reminiscent to what happened 2 years ago. Obviously, we're not going to get into it because I don't, but obviously the incident that when I hear Stardom wrestler being cyberbullied and talk about an incident that happened 2 years ago, that's literally the worst possible thing that can happen. So I'm kind of just, going to say this. I appreciate how everybody is passionate about Stardom and Cosmic Angels and Mina Shirakawa. I get that. However, stop. Leave Sai Kamatani alone. Accidents happen. Not only do accidents happen in pro wrestling, they happen in pro sports. They happen in real life all the time. Accidents happen. I can almost guarantee, even though Mina Shirakawa is in more physical pain than Saya Kamatani, that Saya feels worse than Mina does from an emotional and mental standpoint. Saya Kamatani, we've all been following her over the last 2 or 3 years, seems like the sweetest, nicest, most generous person. And for people to be going and saying, again, I haven't seen any, the fact that one person messaged me and told me that Saya Kamatani is getting cyberbullied and it reminds them of what happened 2 years ago, that's one too many. We have to absolutely stop that. Stop. Again, me and Rob, we have a lot of goals and mission statements we do with this podcast. And the number one thing is we want to help move the Stardom brand forward. We want to add more shine on what is a fantastic promotion. And by people cutting down what is, in my opinion, the best wrestler of the best company for this year on an accident that happened, you need to stop. And here's something else. If you're a Mina Shirakawa fan and you're attacking Saya Kamatani, you don't need to be attacking. You should be thanking her. Because in my opinion, I have watched every Stardom match this year. I've noted it. I've written notes on it. Rob obviously has his book that I shamelessly plug all the time. He watched and wrote a book on every Mina match from last year. I'm going to say on record, the two best matches I've ever seen Mina have, and she's been having some bangers here the last 8 months, is this match here that we're talking about and her 5-star match with Saya Kamatani. So if you're a Mina Shirakawa fan and you feel the need to tweet at Saya Kamatani, why don't you thank her? Thank her for giving your wrestler, one of your favorite wrestlers, Mina Shirakawa, the two best matches she's ever had. Because now I know Mina yesterday, when I came home from work, I noticed she put something out on Twitter saying to leave, back off Saya Kamatani. It wasn't her fault. It was just basically what I said. So please, guys, stop the hate. At the end of every podcast, I always say we're all in this together. And what I generally mean by that is we're all in life together. Life is not easy. Life is tough. You never know what's going to happen from minute to minute in life. We don't need this hate. If anything, like I said, let's all get behind Saya Kamatani, because after this match was over, she cut a promo where in 2 weeks, she has the biggest match of her career. And this is only a match that's going to help propel Stardom into a bigger light. So I think we all need to rally behind Saya. We all need to wish Mina well. We all need to be better and just move on with it.
Yeah, the only thing I'm going to add is if Mina has said something about it, if Mina's said, you know what, accidents happen, then that should be more than enough for people on Twitter. Post-match, Saya Kamatani called out Kairi, the match that should have happened at Stardom X Stardom, and Kairi has accepted Saya's call-out. She's accepted it for Gold Rush in Osaka on the 19th of November, which means, Matt, on back-to-back nights, we are getting Kairi versus Saya Kamatani for the white belt, and then Mayu versus Kairi for the IWGP Women's Championship. That is going to be a very exciting 2 days, isn't it?
Yeah, and then we also have the, well, I'm assuming it's going to be, we'll talk about here, the main event of that show on the 19th. And then over here in the States, on another pay-per-view, we're getting Toni Storm, former Red Belt champion, versus Jamie Hayter, former Goddess of Stardom champion. So needless to say, I won't be sleeping much that week of the 19th or the 20th.
Let's move on. I apologize, by the way, if in the background you can hear what sounds like cannon fire. It's, as I've already said, it's bonfire night here in the UK, which is where we celebrate a failed bomb attack on the Houses of Parliament, which is mental when you think about it, but there we are. So if you can hear, it's the fireworks that are going off, which is it's not a good time for my cats, who, bless them, are both hiding, shaking under the bed. Match 8 then, and our main event of the evening was the World of Stardom Championship match, with Syuri, the champion, defeating Maika with the Vermilion World in 25 minutes and 56 seconds. What can I say about this match, Matt? It was everything I wanted it to be. Maika feels like a red belt champion in waiting. She looked fantastic in this match, and I loved the story between the two of them. They were both brought into DDM at the same time. They were friends. They're still friends, but here they know each other so well. And initially, those opening 10 minutes were just those two reversing moves of each other because they're so familiar with each other's arsenal. And there's one moment where I think Syuri is running the ropes, and she goes to leapfrog, and Mike has anticipated it and hits her with a spinning power slam. And I know it's a really basic move, but it really did illustrate that these two are so familiar with each other that they can literally anticipate what is going to happen next. And it was brilliant. And then we go into Micah's ridiculously hard clubbing clotheslines. We talk about the back body drop on the bloody apron. Not on the apron, sorry, on the ramp. We talk about the Michinoku drivers, which didn't just have a little bit of stank attached to them, had whole swathes of stank smothered all over it. They were hit with some bloody power. And honestly, this is my favourite Syuri defense in a long time. I thought these two created fantastic chemistry together and put on an absolutely stellar match, Matt.
Yeah, I was shocked that this match was good. No, this was great. This was absolutely great. And I liked how in the beginning they were just doing like some chain wrestling, some submission wrestling back and forth. Obviously, Syuri would kind of have the advantage there with the submission wrestling, but Micah, who does have that judo background, really, held her own. But yeah, that was a really cool spot where Syuri was going for the leapfrog, and Micah's like, nope, no, you don't. I got you. And not only that, we saw two new moves from Micah. We had one where it was like a wrist clutch, almost like Toshiaki Kawada style, like Ganosuke bomb. And I was like, ooh, that was really cool. But I think maybe she should, if she's going to add that in her arsenal, when she debuts it's got to be on like a big win. Very much like when Syuri debuted the Vermilion World, it was against Utami to win the red belt. But I thought that was like brutal. But not only that, but we saw a kick out of the Michinoku driver. And then once Syuri kicked out, Micah goes for the spinning version of the Michinoku driver. And then Syuri does a good job kind of getting out of it and then going back to her submissions to try to isolate Micah. But I thought that was really, really good. And then the stiff, brutal exchanges. Like this match just had levels. Like we had like the feeling out process with the ground submission in the beginning. We had some strikes, and then they would go to the big holds and then go back to the strikes. And then they really went heavy on the strikes towards the end. Eventually, Syuri hits the headbutt from behind, way safer than the one she hit on Nanai Takahashi. That I was like, ooh, that might have been a little bit too stiff. And then she drills Micah with the Vermilion World. Yeah, this was an absolute perfect title defense. And I don't think anybody thought that Micah would win here, but when she hit that Michinoku driver, the way that like Syuri wasn't looking at the ref and the way the ref was coming down, I thought for a split second that maybe they might be doing a little swerve here. They did a really good job of kind of keeping me on the edge of my seat, but this was an absolute beautiful and brutal match all at the same time, and I had it at 4.5 stars, and just a great way to end what was an absolutely fantastic pay-per-view.
Yeah, I gave it 4.5 as well. I thought I do think it's a matter of time. It's a matter of when and not if for Micah in this red belt, because she does have that aura that we talk about so often, and she does feel like the biggest of big deals. It's one of my, let's call it my predictions for 2023, one of my early predictions that Micah will get that red belt. I think Micah could be the one to unseat Julia.
Wow. There we go, folks. Set it in stone.
I mean,
$0 bet.
$0 betted. But I genuinely do think that could be the case. Again, it's another fantastic title defense to add to Syuri's unbelievable canon when you consider the matches that she's had. Momo Watanabe, Mayu, Julia. She's had some fantastic ones. Tam, of course, at Midsummer Champion. She's had some astonishing title defenses. But this ranks right up there. And Micah, every time she gets put in that spotlight, just like I said with Himika at the start of the show, she continues to impress and she gets better every single time. If you compare this to her matches, I should say, with Utami, the one at the 10th anniversary show was good. The one at Tokyo Super Wars was good, slightly better. This, better than both of them by far. I give it 4.5 stars. Fantastic match. Speaking of Utami Hayashishita,
yeah.
I mean, what better way to end the year than with the match that put Stardom on the map last year? Syuri on some sort of vendetta to avenge every single loss she suffered in the 5-star this year, calls out Utami Hayashishita, her nemesis, to basically lay the challenge down for the red belt. Again, it was accepted by Utami, and it's the main event of Gold Rush, which means that the 1-2 punch at the top of the card for Gold Rush is going to be Utami versus Syuri, round 3, and Kairi versus Saya Kamitani. I mean, are we being spoiled, Matt, or are we being spoiled?
Absolutely. And then the next day we have Kairi versus Mayu. So it's like, jeepers, creepers. We talked a few weeks ago, like, are they putting on too many pay-per-views? And we're like, yeah, but when they were getting this quality, like, who are we to complain? Like, this is just absolutely unbelievable. And I'll say this because obviously I want Julia to complete the story at the end of the year. So I want her to beat Sherry for the belt. I don't want to see Utami lose, like, at all. So I've never rooted for a time limit draw as much as I will be rooting sitting on my couch. It will probably be 5 a.m. on the 19th of November.
A little subtle little story beat as well that I'm sure it seems too much of a coincidence, but Syuri currently sits at 9 title defenses with the World of Stardom Championship. She needs 1 more to go joint second with Io Shirai at 10. She is currently joint third at 9. Who is she joint third with? Utami. So she has got to beat Utami to go clear of Utami. I think that's a really nice story beat to have as well, to go clear in third. I do think that Syuri comes out victorious.
Yeah, absolutely.
They've had the time limit draw. They've had the draw at Tokyo Dream. They then had the match that went to the draw in the 5-star that year. Then Syuri won at Dream Queendom. Then Utami won in the 5-star this year. I think Syuri wins. I think Syuri wins, puts a bow on what has been a phenomenal feud and a phenomenal set of matches between the two, and we move on to what will be an outstanding match to top off the Dream Queendom show in Syuri versus Julia. I mean, Syuri and Julia is a match that's layered in story, and much as I love Utami does not have that with Julia. So
no,
you
not yet.
You want that main event. You want that main event to sell out. You want that main event to shift tickets. I'd say Syuri versus Julia is your match. I think Utami has something big on that card. What it is, I don't know. Maybe she goes for the white belt. I don't know, though. I'd love it to be Hazuki going against Saya. But I see Utami doing something big there. I'm going to ask you a question then, Matt. Obviously, we've got another podcast in between, and we'll do our predictions once we've got a full card for the Gold Rush show. Kairi versus Saya. Who wins?
Saya.
Yeah, I'm the same.
Yeah, I think I know a lot of people are like, there's no way Kairi takes 2 losses in a row. One, it's not going to hurt her. And 2, it's like, look who she's putting over. Saya Kamatani, who she's basically, since she came back at the press conference, said she wanted to wrestle Saya for the white belt. And then, it's Mayu. I mean, come on. I mean, it's Mayu. So it doesn't hurt her at all. And if anything, it's going to give a boost to both Mayu and Saya Kamatani. But I was in the camp that Hazuki was going to be the one to take the white belt off Saya Kamatani sometime in 23. But obviously, we can go with the based on that promo, Mina Shirakawa. But again, another story for another time. But I think that Kairi is eating 2 falls on the 19th and the 20th.
It is interesting that both Saya Kamatani and Syuri won their belts at last year's Dream Queendom and could both potentially lose those belts at Dream Queendom, but we'll see anyway. That brings us to the end of our review. A really solid show that I think over-delivered in many ways. I just want to say a thank you again to Karen Pearson, who has put all the translations on her review on the Post Wrestling site. And again, go and check out Scotty Wrestling's Mina Shirakawa article on the Voice of Wrestling site, The Dream to Inspire Hope Through Wonder. It's a really, really, really good read, and I actively encourage you to go and check that out. But in the meantime, we will be back next Friday talking the next 2 days of the Tag League, the shows from the 5th and the 6th of November we'll be talking about. In the meantime, subscribe to the podcast wherever you get your podcasts. If you'd like to leave us a 5-star review and a comment on Apple Podcasts, it does us a huge favor and we massively appreciate it. You can also go and subscribe to our Patreon, patreon.com/the Stardomcast, for lots of juicy little Stardom extras. You can find us on social media at the Stardomcast, Twitter, Facebook, YouTube, Instagram, the whole lot. You can talk to me on Twitter at RealRobGoodwin. You can check out the website, www.thestardomcast.weebly.com. Matt, where can they find you? And sign us off, my friend. But before you do, just quickly, Colin, I hope you've really enjoyed the intro to this podcast, because it is going to be a one and done, I'm afraid. But I thought I'd put it on just for you, my friend. Anyway, Matt, please continue.
Rob is one of the people. What a gentleman. What a gentleman. If you guys need to get a hold of me, questions, comments, anything I can do to help out, you can get me on Twitter and or the Instagram at Matt Turner OF. If social media isn't your thing, and I completely understand, I do have an email, thestardomcast22@gmail.com. And again, anything that I can do to help out or any questions, please let me know. Because like I always say, this isn't just my podcast. It's our podcast, because we're all in this together and everybody's different. Everybody's special.